Living Adaptive.
The goal is to adapt and thrive despite the adversity you face.
You're going to have that little voice inside of you trying to push yourself.
I set a vision for myself, and now I'm seeing it come to fruition.
I'm grateful for losing my leg.
There's just some things you must endure in life.
You might crash.
You can find a purpose in your suffering.
I'm not going to stop.
You do everything you possibly can.
We want to change the world.
I'm going to adapt to it and make it the way it works for me.
Take what it is from life that you want and enjoy it.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is Scott Davidson. This is Living Adaptive, and I have something awesome for you. Reckless Adaptive hats. I pay for the production cost, and all proceeds, every dollar, goes towards the Range of Motion Project, which means it's going to kids and adults and underserved areas that need prosthetic legs. Come on, it's a very meaningful mission. So all of this is going there. And so check this out. And don't forget, you can find us on Living_Adaptive, Living Adaptive, and Living Adaptive on Facebook, livingadaptive.com, that is. And so check that out. You can buy the hats from there or Venmo me. And if you can't afford a hat, I have had that happen. You just want a hat. If you can pay like $12 because that's what they cost in shipping, I'll just send it to you. So like, whatever, man. Like, I'm not the best business person on earth, so obviously from this, but we are raising funds. So let's contribute. Let's get this down. I'm very lucky today. I'm actually a fan of this guest because of what she does and how aggressive she is in her sports and activities. But Kimber Cross is here, and she is a very amazing athlete. Kimber, what's up?
Hey, good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks. You're a little bit intimidating because you don't fear much. At least you don't fear much on climbs, man. What's the scariest climb you've done?
Oh man, scariest climb. Actually, this past season, I attempted the Black Ice Couloir in the Tetons. It's on the dark side of the Grand. And we had a surprise storm hit us coming out of the south. And we're talking massive hail, thunder, lightning, and being on the backside right there, it's pretty intense of a traverse. It's called the Valhalla Traverse, and we had to bail because there's not a lot of places to hide when there's lightning and you have a lot of metal hanging off of you, ice screws and everything. And so I just remember being on rappel, trying to get off of it to get to the next spot, and the hail was so intense that I was buried up to my knees within 3 minutes, and I'm just trying to get off the wrap, and I'm just stuck there in this like gully, and it's just shooting down on me, and the hail is just so massive and heavy. So I was a bit terrified, maybe for the first time on a big technical climb like this, just with the weather. But luckily I had an amazing partner who had been through a couple epics before, and he was like, we're good. Yep, this is intense, but we're going to get through it. So got down, found a little cave, hid in there, and watched just the lightning pop off and the sky just look electrified, and waited till we had a clearing before the next wave of the storm came, and busted ass to back to base camp and called it a day. So that one was my most terrifying. That was scary.
Heights don't get you. I've noticed that. Heights aren't getting you. You're climbing some pretty aggressive stuff. You're a kid that grew up on a farm, though. So like we're probably seeing like, I mean, I was kind of rural where I grew up too. So like maybe I'm a little bit more hardy. You know what I mean? But like, do you feel like you have to ease up for others around you, like not be so aggressive when you get after it? You know, you got to slow things down a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, growing up, I just had a really supportive family, you know, and a father that was like, I mean, you're going to go out there and play those sports and be your best at it. And I grew up playing in the dirt, you know, watching my dad build our farm and our garden and our house. And I was just always a kid in the dirt. I was like the only girl in my neighborhood. And so, yeah, just playing rough and tough and pushing yourself was just kind of ingrained in me as a young kid. And so I think it, you know, transferred into sports and athletics. Hard work transferred into my career. And now it's, you know, transferred into the mountains. And so I just love pushing myself and just the pain of it all and the sufferfest of climbing really is something that amps me up, and develops me physically and my strength physically, but just also really refines your character. And so I get just stoked off of doing hard things, and I care about safety, and I care about knowing your systems and being a smart climber. And so I think those elements, as they grow and as they build with my experience, I go do the hard things. I find the partners that I know I'm safe with, and we do the hard stuff, man.
You're team congenital, which makes you better than everybody else. Team congenital for sure is
team congenital.
Yeah, we've been repping we've been crushing it. In terms of my interviews lately, it's been like 80%. So show up people that aren't congenital. But like really, on a serious note, you've had to adapt since day one. People look at us, people look at us, people always talk to us. Sometimes they talk down to us and stuff like that. But you're so tough. Do you think that played into it?
I think for sure, because I had always had this mindset of I can do it, I just have to modify. And so I've been modifying how I do stuff since I was a kid, from tying my shoe to zipping up a jacket. And I was a very, very independent kid. And my parents knew that from right away. And they were like, you were a baby and like you wanted freedom. Like you wanted to move around yourself. You wanted to pick yourself up. You wanted to grab things, even with my righty is what I call it, my right hand, that's kind of like a stump, missing the main all the fingers. And so I think just, I'm going to be 34 on Thursday. So 34 years of adapting and pushing myself.
One thing that I think doesn't get appreciated out of the people that are like born this way, like we're born this way, is like we have a lot of experience there. I got 40 years, you got 34 years. There's a lot of years of experience of adapting, a lot of stuff we can discuss about where it's at, what life was like. But like really, what were you like as a kid? Like for real, like were you like a skater? Were you like a tomboy? Were you an athlete? What were you like?
Yeah, I was very much a tomboy, good girl, but tomboy. Whereas like friends with everyone, amazingly never got teased or made fun of or anything for my hand. And I think part of that played into like, wow, she's so good at these sports. I say that humbly, but just like I didn't see myself as incapable. I just like modified, and dribbling with my right hand, and I was a point guard, and I was a fast pitch pitcher for 9 years.
Damn.
With a coach coming up from Texas every other weekend. So it just was, I have a goal and I do it. And I think that people saw my intensity and my drive, and I didn't hold myself back. I didn't victimize myself or kind of, woe is me. I just kind of kicked ass, and it really earned respect. I think people were just like, oh my gosh, like just crushing it. And so it's just kind of continued, and I had a family that, just believed in me, and just very grateful for kind of that mindset growing up as a kid with one hand to just carry confidence. That was definitely something grown in me by the community around me.
Yeah, I was deemed like a miracle baby. I'm like, why not the miracle? Why not the miracle a little bit before birth? No, on a serious note, I was like, just go. You know what I mean? Just get after it. But I do remember sports people would like point, be like football. I played football for a little bit, and they're like, let's target that. Let's hit those legs. And so like there was definitely that. Your adaptation though, what is interesting to a lot of people, especially now that like range of motion projects going on, there's been a lot of talk in the adaptive community about climbing. We know mutual people in a climbing world. You're really unique. I mean, like if you think of an adaptation, I see a lot of people steer away from having to counter their adaptation. Like maybe you're an upper, meaning you have an upper adaptation. Now you're a cyclist or something. You do stuff like that.
Right.
You're doing the opposite. You're doing the ultimate pull-up challenges. Like we're going up ice, it's pretty wild. Explain what that's like. Explain how hard that is.
Yeah. Doing ice really, when I took my intermediate alpine course with the Mountaineers, which is an organization volunteer based out here in Washington State. I knew like, okay, I'm learning how to lead on rock and, lead on glacier travel and whatnot. But we have this ice module coming up, and oh man, like you have to hold two things the whole time, like in your hand, like two tools. And I just remember going like, there's gotta be a way. There's gotta be a way. I want to do this so bad. And there's just this desire of like, I'm just now learning what ice climbing is, and surely I can do this. So I need to figure out a way. And I just started, I posted, videos on Instagram of like in your stories, like, yo, does anyone have any connections to anything? Is this even possible? How do I get in touch with a prosthetic doctor? Because growing up as a kid, I remember being like 6 years old and my parents taking me to a prosthetics doctor in the early 90s, and I didn't want anything. And a lot of it was for looks, let's put like a plastic hand on your hand and it'll look normal. And it's just for vanity, walking around feeling comfortable. Because I feel like even, 20 years ago, there wasn't as much of acceptance of like, I can walk down the street with my hands at my side and I don't need a fake hand to look normal. Nowadays that it just kind of seems weird. We've really grown as a society, but I knew like I need a prosthetic for the first time in my life to accomplish this goal in the alpine. And getting to work with a prosthetic doctor, you have to be so focused on safety when you're ice climbing, because the number one rule is don't fall. And so my prosthetic doctor kind of reached out and he was like, hey, I don't know what ice climbing is, but I make prosthetics for athletes and I want to donate my time. I want to do this pro bono. Like, what is ice climbing? How can I help you? And so we watched videos and we looked at the mechanics of a swing and, kind of came up with this idea of how I could get a prosthetic on my arm that has my ice tool kind of cut up and adapted to fit in the socket and to be able to hang on it safely and everything. It's just this whole process to make sure that I'm able to swing it and climb ice and lead on ice safely, and it's pretty rad how it's come together. It was probably a year-long process of some prototypes and a lot of casting and, them sending materials across the country to build this prosthetic ice tool for me. But yeah, I love it. I love it so much. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time training to make sure my fitness is there. Because the tool gives me the ability to hold two tools at one time. But if I don't have, the athletic endeavor behind it, that's a workout. It's not a super light prosthetic either.
Kimber Cross, you talked about it became accepted. Like, when did it become cool to be adaptive? Because like I remember most of my life it was not, and what caused it to actually happen? That's something I don't like know if there's a turning point, like a specific incident, but like, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I personally, really I can just speak from personal experience. As confident as I was as a kid, my teenage years, you start thinking about boys and all that. Like, man, I hit it hardcore. Yeah. Like, my hand was always in my pocket or under a binder. But at the same time, like, I was, on varsity fast pitch team, like pitching and basketball, where it's like everyone knew and life was great. I just had this fear of like, it will never be accepted. And I can't show it. I have to hide it when I'm around strangers. And kind of the age of Instagram, when stories first came out, I started seeing other people on Instagram in their stories just doing normal life, but they had limb differences.
Yeah, totally.
And I was like, oh wow, like they're not afraid to show it. And I started just posting videos of doing life where like I will let my hand kind of show, and I had friends go, whoa, like, do you realize like you're not hiding it in a video? And that's, I mean, maybe 5 years ago. And I just fast forward 5 years and just where I have no fear at all now in being who I am, like accepting myself and realizing like the whole world is kind of stoked on it right now of what adaptive athletes can do and the technology available and the representation that's there. And, you know, for me, that turning point, even with ice climbing, believing like, oh, I can't actually do it. I can't actually have a place in the outdoors where I succeed. In the Alpine was seeing the North Face put this adaptive athlete on their team, Maureen Beck.
Oh,
and she's an incredible,
talented, yeah.
Oh, so incredible. And she's become one of my, you know, just great mentors and friends and one of my favorite athletes. But it was really that, like, that representation, like, oh, whoa, like there's pros. Because growing up, all I knew, I mean, there's Jim Abbott from the California Angels. He was a one-handed pitcher. Yeah. And that's the only person I had to look up to in elementary school. Like, when I went in to check out books at the library, I'd grab the Jim Abbott book. Like, man, that guy, he looks like me and he's an athlete. And so, yeah, I just think something has clicked in society where we do truly realize like representation matters.
Yeah.
And our differences are actually like powerful and beautiful, and we want to celebrate them, and everyone kind of seems to be on board with that, and it just totally shifts our mindset. So it's pretty cool to see that happening. Yeah. And to be a part of that in my little world.
Yeah, man. I when I was like growing up, I dressed like a pilgrim, I think, or something, like some sort of like aggressive religious dude, because like I hid these legs so much. I must have had like 4 or 5 pairs. My legs were so skinny in high school. I remember putting on 2 pairs of jeans and 2 pairs of socks to offset, just to like be like, maybe we're gonna get past this one, you know, like and so we're gonna win. It was really difficult. Yeah. Did you have any go-to tricks to hide?
Oh, yeah. I was a big fan of jackets or dresses, anything with pockets. If it had a pocket on it, I'd own it because I could totally play it off and just have both my hands in my pocket. I was so good at it. My first boyfriend in high school didn't know the first 4 days we dated. Like, his sister told him. He called me and he was like, dude, Mary Beth just told me you had one hand. That's not true, is it? And I had to be like, ooh, I am that good at hiding.
The discussions of like, dude, the unveil is incredible. It's like, it's like move the bus or something. I don't know. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've been through that for sure, all the time, like throughout life. It's an unveil all the time. Like like when I went down to a gym, I'm like, I want to win one of these OCRs. Let's see if I can do it. I go down to the gym and people are like, well, what's up with you? Because I have sweatpants on, and I'm like, let me show you something, and don't be perverts. I just mean my legs, and you know, like, and I'm like, and so like you know, at that point they kind of get it. That I think is almost more difficult than the actual physical mobility loss, anything like that, is like feeling the inadequacies at time. I speak a little bit about it, but you said something really rad that I speak a lot about is the adaptive athlete. What made them significant is like, if you think about human nature, like we're all going to hit the wall at some point. Everybody is. If you live long enough, able-bodied, whoever you are, your body's going to fail. And what we offer is like we hit the wall a little bit earlier or very early. And we offer a way to get over the wall, around the wall, through the wall, whatever it is, or just live with the wall and still have a dynamic life despite the challenges. And so like, I think that hit a little bit lately, but man, it was not cool for a while. You're a teacher.
Yeah, that's well said. That's so true. Well,
you're a teacher. And you have that's pretty wild. You have a kindergarten class. Like the conversation's got to get pretty intense sometimes, right?
Oh man. Yeah. They do not hold anything back.
Shit.
Yeah, they speak their mind, and I love it because, you know, when it finally clicked, like the purpose that I could be as beyond just teaching them, you know, how to read, how to do math, you know, even how to human. Kindergarten is so much of learning social skills. I really was like, wow, what a powerful position where I get to be their first contact sometimes most times with someone who has a limb difference, someone who looks differently. And it's a whole conversation we have. And I've kind of perfected the way that I give this presentation to kind of prevent some shock and awe, but to really get them to accept. And my whole goal is, man, I want them to be raw and honest with me, because I can take it, I can handle it. And over the course of the year, you know, they fall in love with their teacher, and they learn to respect me, and they see pictures of me climbing, and they see my prosthetic. And I want them to take that and to have that new, you know, schema, that new background knowledge of experiential knowledge where, wow, you know, this person is amazing and I love them and their hand looks different than mine. That's totally normal. And so when they go meet a kid, per se, that has some kind of limb difference, they have that background knowledge to just take it in and accept it and love it. And that happened my third year teaching. We had a new kid come in, and of course they're all like, Miss Cross, elephant in the room, tell him. And, you know, I quick little, born with one hand, look at it. And this is my thumb, this is my pinky, that whole kind of thing. He shoots his hand up in the air, and he was missing a finger. He was also born. And the kids, the amount of love that they instantly gave him, of acceptance and, whoa, how cool, you're just like our teacher and we love our teacher. I just watched his confidence all year, where I'm like, man, I grew up hiding my hand and this kid never hit his hand. No one ever. I just teased him, and, you know, he grew up to just be this confident, bold, joyful kid at my school, seeing him over the years. And I was like, oh, that is what I've been waiting for, to see the fruit of, you know, just being me and getting to be in that position in front of children, you know, to teach them what it looks like. And it's been a really powerful experience as an educator.
That's amazing. That's amazing to be a frontliner. You said pictures. Come on. Like, you have one of the most dynamic who's handling your Instagram account? Come clean. Do you got a pro? Like, who's the photos? Like, who's doing that? Like, that, those nature photos, you could just sit on your account and be like, wow, the world is okay. You know? Thanks.
Yeah, man. No, it is me and my iPhone 11 Pro.
God,
I am a full-on iPhone mom. I just love the outdoors. I love the creativity of photography, but as far as I go with it is my iPhone. It's all in the edit.
If I'm feeling like I need to see nature, I'll go to your account or Matt Meredith. Matt is a Utah climber. Do you know him? A venture athlete. You guys bring us to the mountains, right up there into nature. Like your last one from the weekend when I was prepping for this interview, I'm like, this is amazing. This is where I want to be. You know, I'm a person that relaxes in nature, and I need to be out there all the time. But like, the pictures are so stunning, so incredible. Instead of climbing, like, what other things do you do? Like, you can't just be a climber 24/7. You can't be on top of the Tetons. You can't do all that all the time. Like, at some point, you take a break, right? You can't just be a teacher. Like, what do you do? I
feel like the last, 5 years have really been all about climbing, just kind of through the courses and training that I've done. But I honestly, before, I was really into running and marathons, half marathons, and I kind of get into cycling. Movement is a big thing for me. And so I love being solo, and I love running and cycling. I'm a sunset, early morning to the gym kind of person. So when I'm not climbing or teaching, like, man, I just enjoy solitude. I just enjoy, an evening walk with friends. Where I live, there's just so much water everywhere out in Tacoma, Washington. And I'm kind of just chill. I mean, I don't have the internet or TV at my house or my apartment, cheap like that. But just outside being quiet. And being a teacher, for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, you hear your name, Miss Cross, Miss Cross, Miss Cross. So yeah, I like silence and I like the outdoors in my city when I'm not climbing or teaching.
That's where like I'm like you. Although I'm in the desert, it's still beautiful for you snobs up in the, the mountains full of water and stuff. Come on.
Yeah. We're blessed.
If you had, enough money to do what you want to do in life, what would you do?
I feel at this stage in life, had I had all the money that I would need, I think I'd want to combine my two passions right now. Obviously, teaching in the mountains. Where I teach every Monday, it becomes this quick little morning community circle time with my class where I show them pictures of what I did over the weekend and ask them about their weekend. And, they see the mountain at a distance, and these just aren't experiences that many of my kids will get in their youth, if ever. The area I teach and just the economics of everything and these kids' lives, it's something that I really wish I could bring into them. So if I had resources, like I would want to have some kind of program that gets kids in neighborhoods like to nature, and that gets kids, who need adaptive equipment in nature. Just something where it's awakening the youth to the love of the outdoors and the conservation of the outdoors. Yeah, because I show them pictures and they're like, "Can I climb with you?" Like and I'll get tons of comments like this every year, and I love it. And they're like, "Miss Cross, like when I grow up, can I climb with you?" Where they see like I'm not just this one-dimensional person. Like I'm not just the teacher that sleeps under the desk at night and is always at school. And, God forbid we see her in the grocery store and freeze because she lives outside of school. That's crazy. But they get to see like, wow, there's this human that loves the mountains. And the kids are like, this is our state. These pictures, this is where I live. And so I would really want to use money to just get kids out there.
That kind of feeds into this question too, is like maybe you don't have the funds to do that. Like with that, like does that fulfill the idea of like what do you want to accomplish in this lifetime? Like if we were going to get to know you, what do you want to accomplish in this lifetime?
At the end of my life, I just want to be known for just being like a passionate and faithful and consistent human who, loved herself well, loved the mountains well, and loved people well. Being in the mountains is great, but like, it's not a solo thing. The teams that I climb with, the people I climb with, your lives are tied to each other with the rope essentially. And so, I want to be known for being a hardworking, like faithful partner. And you just build so many friendships. I've climbed with people from all over the world and every kind of culture. And it's just such a great thing. And so I just want my legacy to be, someone who climbed hard and loved harder. That's what I hope.
Who's your best climbing friend? We're putting you on the spot. You got to pick one.
Ooh. Oh my gosh.
No, you can't pick like two or three.
If I pick one, I can't tell anyone to listen to this because they're all going to get offended.
Yeah, no, we want some hurt feelings here. And why are they your best friend?
All right. So I have one climbing partner, Meredith Mosman. She's out here in the Northwest, and she and her fiance, Andrew. I'm just going to do a little humble brag. I think they're at, 13 summits of Rainier on 11 different routes.
Wow.
And they're just this dynamic duo. And she and I went through the basic and intermediate alpine course with mountaineers together. And this past weekend, we just climbed Mount Shuckson via Fisher Chimney. And a section called Winnie Slide was just full on blue ice. And we did the Couts earlier this summer together. And so she really has just become such a friend that I'm like, I can go on these technical climbs with you and Andrew, her partner. And and just crush it. And it's someone that pushes me, and, goes my speed. And I adore her. So shout out to Meredith. But as far as, I think, guy climbing partners, I have my friend Case Turner, and he was the first one who really taught me how to ice climb, let me come out to Provo, Utah, took me up. There's this area in Provo, it's called Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
And just full on taught me the basics of ice climbing, like knew I was building the prosthetic. And he had just worked with outdoor companies, and that was our connection kind of through customer service. And suddenly we became friends, and he's become a huge mentor in my life, especially when it comes to using a prosthetic to climb. So these two people, I mean, props and much love to every climbing partner I have. They're all amazing, but yeah, Meredith and Case really stand out as people who have pushed me and supported me.
So Kimber Cross, you actually create content outside of just photography. You're out there doing a lot of really cool stuff, and you wrote for Paradox Sports. What is Paradox Sports about? What's your involvement there?
Yeah. Paradox Sports opens the door of opportunity for people who need adaptations to climb, to be in the outdoors. They put on events all around the country, whether it's rock climbing or ice climbing, indoor climbing, where it's like, hey, here is a welcoming, safe community for you to step outside of your comfort zone, for you to, do what you didn't think was possible. And they help provide the resources and, the tools for people to climb. And so I've been able to go to a couple of events in Ouray for their ice climbing festival, Smith Rock last year, and just being able to see other adaptive climbers, like, it's incredible to be a part of this kind of organization, because there's people that have congenital limb differences, and some that were recent amputees or
Sure.
Past amputees, and I just being in Smith, there's this one young kid who had a recent leg amputee, and it was his very first time getting on rock using a prosthetic, and just seeing his confidence and just seeing him crush it right away. And I was like, I would never have encountered this guy. Like, he would never have had this experience if not for a community like Paradox, an organization that goes out there and makes this stuff happen for kids like that, for adults like that. And I love everyone who volunteers with Paradox. Just solid people who really love well and climb hard with each other.
So, like, you don't have to be born without a hand to be like you. You don't have to be, like, in terms of the drive, you don't have to be born with leg issues or something like that. And you get a lot of notice. I've seen it in your comments. People are like, you're incredible. You do amazing things. So, like, looking at all of that, this is one, like, to kind of send us off, like, what is it, if you could bottle up what it is about you to get you going, to be like this, to do the things you do, for people that are watching? We got a lot of people that are, dealing with a lot of hardships. I get the messages. Yeah. There's a lot of bad stuff in their lives at this time. What do you say to just, get on that path?
Mm-hmm. For me, I think it really, I had to zone in on what brings me joy, and where can I push myself beyond what I thought was possible. And what really brought me joy was nature, and what I found really pushing myself was that the mountaineering aspect of it, the climbing aspect. Like, I want to do more than a hike, and I feel like finding a hobby or a passion or something that you're like, oh man, I don't know if I could ever, really, really be good at that or really do that. Like, there's so much kind of mental traffic we can have against ourselves, and we really can count ourselves out when no one else would. I just have so many people that are like, oh yeah, you can totally do that. And it's really been myself in the past counting myself out.
Yeah.
And so, find that thing and just, like, fight for it. That's been I think that has just been the transformation in my life the past 5 years. Like, I found something that brought me ultimate joy, and I wanted to throw my whole heart into it. And it's brought me nothing but incredible friendships and experiences and a new level of confidence that I didn't walk with this entire 34 years of my life.
Sure.
And then to see how this confidence and these experiences, the ripple effect of how it's not only made my life more full, but there's people outside of me that are being encouraged and provoked. Even that word inspired, and I get DMs from moms, and it's pictures of their babies in cribs, and they are missing an arm, or just were born with some limb difference or whatever, and they're like, you don't understand the hope that you give me by just living your life. I'm not going out of my way to be anything to anyone, just to satisfy the desires of my heart. Like, that's what I'm living for. But to see how that ripple effect has transformed other people and their perceptions of what people can do through adaptations, and just to think like, wow, if my mom had someone when I was a baby who was doing something so normal in nature, but in a modified way, like, that would have given her so much more confidence for me growing up. And so, there's so much power in following your passions and letting that drive you.
Yeah, you motivate me to get out there and attempt to climb, like a good climb, a decent climb, to get that challenge out. You definitely motivate me out there too. And I totally expected that you probably get a ton of messages saying thank you for the hope that you bring. You definitely bring hope. That account expands upon that, brings hope, brings nature, everything. So it's really amazing. Kimber,
Thanks.
Kimber Cross, thank you for being here. You're a really amazing person, incredible person. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on here.
Remember, go to livingadaptive.com to find previous episodes, show notes, contacts for guests like this guest, links to social media accounts, and a bunch of other good stuff. So go there. Peace.